These are very exciting times to be a diecast collector, and one of my jobs is to make sure that you get the best information from the best sources possible. So if you want to get more content like this, be sure to subscribe. In this podcast, we have a very special guest today from the other side of the pond. You might be familiar with Castheads magazine, and we will be talking to one of the founding members of that magazine. So let's welcome Nigel. Welcome, Nigel, to the podcast. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing okay. I mean, this is quite exciting. I'm just loving the way the direction of your podcast is going, and very excited to be on it because, well, obviously, you know that we've got lots of interesting stuff to share. Castheads magazine, we like to go around the world as much as possible, as much as we can, having a look at stuff that's happening around the world, and bring all that info back to give it to whoever doesn't get a chance to make it out there. So it's great to be here, and thank you so much for having me. Quite excited.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know we've wanted to do something together before, like on the YouTube channel, my other channel, but I think this might be a better platform for all of us in the long run.
Yep, and yeah, it's quite exciting. I mean, this part of the world is really blowing up with diecast collecting, and we're starting to see a lot of interesting things coming out, accessories and events and new brands coming. I think the last 6 years has been quite an interesting story when it comes to diecast collecting, especially in the 164 realm. We've suddenly exploded from having your mainstay brands to this complete new plethora of fantastic 164 cars that's just absolutely stunning when it comes to detail. So very exciting times, as you and I have spoken about earlier as well, that we're living in when it comes to diecast.
Yeah, I think you're going to be perfect for bridging the gap of information and giving us some golden nuggets here. But let's just start with maybe yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit, just quick stuff about your background and how you got started with collecting diecast.
Oh, it's quite an interesting story, actually. My business partner and I, we've been working in advertising for, over 20 years. So we've got about 40 years behind us put together working as creatives. I myself was an associate creative director at quite a few, big, many of those multinational agencies, until I got sick and tired of the lifestyle and moved into, collecting cars. I moved back into the hobby, actually, to be honest. I mean, I used to collect as a kid, and then there was a long time, didn't have time, other stuff, life got in the way. So when I got the chance to, I got back into the collecting gig. And when I did, it was always TLVs, Hot Wheels, and when it came to 118 scale cars, Maisto and Burago. Those were the only brands that I knew collecting diecast. Then I started to do a bit of research online, and I realized that there are just a whole new world, even in the Hot Wheels segment, a whole new world of diecast cars out there, like treasure hunts and super treasure hunts and car culture. And, this was all just so new to me. I was like, I need to find some like-minded people. So obviously went online, got in touch with the local community, and that's when I met Lance. And Lance and I bonded together on a very interesting topic, which was the topic of scalpers, because that was something that I was starting to, realize and experience being a collector and, turning up at places and not finding anything on the shelves. And I tell this to him, and then he explained to me how this went. I was really passionately not happy about it, because at the end of the day, I believe in free and fair for all. So we bonded, and we came together and we developed Castheads brand to build display cases. So we launched that about 5.5 years ago. But unfortunately, because we are a small country, production costs and production materials are quite expensive, and the market here is quite tiny. I mean, we are a country of we're an island of 21 million people, which is nothing when you compare it to, some of the bigger continents like the US and Europe and so on and so forth. So we had problems building quality display cases for a cheap price. So no one bought our display cases. We had all these display cases, which no one wanted, which was fine for us because obviously we used them. But then I headed over to Malaysia I do regular trips to Malaysia because it's one of my favorite holiday spots in Asia. And I went for a diecast expo and I saw Tarmac works. What? Wait, hang on, you mean we're not just talking about Hot Wheels anymore? And I swear to you, James, I came back to Sri Lanka with an armload of Tarmac work cars. And I was like, oh, this is heaven. Detailed cars, look at the detail on it. And I was just blown away.
Man, seeing it in person like that must have been a real mind-blowing experience, I would think, right?
Well,
because a lot of people just see it in pictures, but man, when you see it in person, it's a completely different experience.
First of all, yeah, the experience of being there, this was my first Diecast. Yes. The experience of being there is mind-blowing. And then, seeing all these brands. I mean, first of all, I had seen TLVs I'd never seen before. And it was just like head explosion. Yeah. So I came back and I was checking out these Tarmac work cars on my table right here, sitting right here. And I thought to myself, hang on, I'm a designer and a writer. My business partner's a designer. Why don't we do a magazine? Because we always take pictures and want to show off how, lovely these cars and all are. The perfect thing would be a magazine. So I got online and I checked out to see what sort of magazines there were out there. I mean, obviously, the first thing you do is check out what sort of competition is. And I found that there were very few magazines and all of them were subscription based, which was also quite annoying because, I've just spent a lot of money on these cars and they're not cheap, to buy Tarmac Works, at the level that I had bought. I had bought Tarmac Works, I had bought IXO, I had bought, I just went completely crazy. And so then I said to myself and I said to Lance, why don't we do a magazine that's completely free? And at the time we were working in advertising. So, to do a free magazine, made sense because we had the free time. It was a hobby, and we were working. I was working at Wonderman Thompson.
It's like one of those things where you're about to do something. It's like your hobby, and you're gonna have a lot of fun doing it, right? Because you're making this magazine, you're developing this magazine. So why would this not be fun? Like,
right? I mean, you get to open cars, take pictures, and then, write about how you feel about them. And, suddenly, because of all of these brands that have come out, there's just so much to talk about. It's how Castheads magazine started. And I must say, Tarmac Works, we got in touch with them because we were so impressed with their stuff. We got in touch with them and they were quite nice about, helping us spread the word about the magazine. When the magazine came up, they shared it on their social media and all. And the first magazine, I now when I think about it, I should have grabbed it because I got the covers printed up. So the first one had, Tarmac Works right across it. And that was the start of what has now become a fantastic, fun media company that caters to an amazing niche market.
So let me pull up your magazine here. I think I've got it pulled up here just to take a glimpse at it. Let's see here. Here we go. I think this might be the latest episode, September. How often do y'all publish these?
Okay, so we do a monthly issue, but of course, we've had a few setbacks in Sri Lanka that has caused us to delay the magazine. So right now we're working on the gift guide, and usually we have a drop a month before. So like if it's October drop, the September issue, the October drop comes out in November. So we're always a bit of a month late. But yeah, I mean, getting all of this information, collating all of these pictures. We do a lot of our own photography. 99% photography is ours, and whatever we take from outside, we ask for permission, and we've always had people saying yes, absolutely, because there are times when we deal with some fantastic content, cars based on Le Mans and the motorsport industry and all, and there's some fantastic pictures taken by people out there. So we like to bring in some of those real world pictures, mix it up, tell the story, and we always credit them and we always ask them before we use their pictures. One thing is, you cannot play with people's creative license, and that's something that we take to heart because we do this and we do it for free. So we understand how people's creative thoughts and processes work, and it's not fair. So we like to keep it nice and clean in that.
I'm familiar with the Japanese magazine called Model Cars. It looks, it's got some similar stuff to it, but I think what's cool about your magazine, it's very photogenic. And you've got all these. I mean, you've got a whole spread dedicated to pictures here, and it looks really nice. You've got all the detail in the background. This is what some of the guys in the diecast figure diorama community do. They'll do these setups. They'll take nice little pictures. So this is really great. A little bit of text, and then you've got some really nice pictures to really expose the detail, the quality of these model cars. It's really nice.
And that's where the game has come to right now. I mean, the amount of talent, innovation, and creativity that has gone into a lot of some of these pictures that people are taking is absolutely fantastic. I mean, for me, it is a constant learning curve, and having the ability to be able to do these is also such a great feeling, because you look through these pages and you think, I created these worlds for people to see and enjoy, and then people feedback and say, oh, great picture, love the article, and all. It's always such a great feeling to be able to spread that information. And again, like I said, we keep it free because we want the collectors to be able to enjoy it, not have the battle of thinking, do I get the magazine? Do I pay a subscription? Do I buy a car? It should not be like that. So
I noticed that you have a mix of, Hot Wheels stuff, and you've got a mix of the, the higher detailed stuff in here. And when you look at the pictures for the higher detailed stuff and you take pictures of it, put it in the magazine, I think it really helps a lot with the presentation. Like the Tarmac and the prop race stuff, man, that stuff looks amazing. I mean, look at this, the stuff that you're not going to see in a Hot Wheel, right? Like, you're not going to see literally like this on a Hot Wheel.
That's the thing. The 164 scene has completely exploded. It's just amazing stuff coming out. And talking about Pop Race, actually, I did bring along two models that haven't been released and haven't been seen by the world yet. So later on in our discussion, I'll be able to give you a peek into what Pop Race is doing. And again, every brand is trying hard to kind of bring their own special innovation and their own ideas to it. For example, Tarmac Works. Their packaging is absolutely brilliant. They started off with the acrylic base, which I personally love. Having to be able to, display your collection without having to worry about dust and stuff, absolutely perfect. Then they brought in the containers, which were really cool, and the containers are stackable. Then they had the tins. Oh, I love the tins.
Those tins are so cool. Yeah, I love those tins too. I wish they would do more of those.
The problem is, I think shipping has now become a problem for a lot of people, and that is why I think they're now moving into more cheaper shipping things, because I think a lot of people who live in the States and Europe have to pay high shipping costs as opposed to people in Asia. So Tarmac Works is very conscious about that, and they're constantly trying to make it possible and cheap for people. Now look at these RWBs by Tarmac Works, absolutely stunning. And again, 143 scale.
This is not 64. This is actually 43. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Because again, this side of the world, 143 scale is a good scale to have when you have lack of space, but you want a little more detail. So 143s go big in Asia, and of course 164 rules the roost, which is why you see so many 164 brands coming up, and now everyone is trying hard to bring in their own bit of space. And back again, new Tarmac Work truck. I just absolutely have you seen it? New Tarmac Work truck.
Is it the Helix?
No. This is one of their display solutions that they've got. Even in the basicness of this whole setup, and they kept the truck extremely basic. They've done an absolutely fantastic job.
Yeah, that's the one. Man, that's so awesome.
So this
I think the packaging is really nice. The detail on that GTR is amazing.
So yeah.
That looks great. I think the next one that's coming out like that is gonna be the JGTC Supra. I think, is that the one? The Castrol Supra. I think that's the next one that's coming out.
In the truck, probably, because they did release one for the Singapore Diecast Expo Special Edition, which is a very strange mix of RWB and Liberty Walks. So I really don't know how they managed to do that. But again, I know Tarmac Works is the brand that works heavily with licenses. So I know for a fact that they would have definitely made sure they crossed their T's and dotted their I's when they got that. But Tarmac Works and Liberty Walks collab.
So circling back to scale sizes, you're saying that 64 scale is probably the biggest and most popular scale size that's coming out these days. Now, one of the things that happens a lot is there's a lot of brands that are coming out. You've got your Tarmacs, you've got your Pop Race, and you've got these other guys that are doing it mainstream, doing it legitimate. But man, there are so many other no-name brands. I'm talking about like 3-syllable brand names. There's like this Time Micro is one that I've discussed before on my other channel. What are your thoughts about these brands and how they're doing things?
One word: opportunistic. Taking the success of brands like Tarmac Works and MINIGT and Pop Race and trying to replicate it simply because they have access to some of the same factories or the same companies that build this, and then let's capitalize on this mold. So while those guys are working hard to get their licenses and all, and It's quite crazy because here's something that a lot of people don't realize, right? When you buy a Tarmac Works, Mini GT, or Pop Race 165, I'm mentioning those because those are the brands that I'm really familiar with. But there's also Inno 64, who also started off kind of like dodgily without their license, but now they've realized that they've got to get that game going. You pay for a licensed product on one hand, right? And you pay premium for it, right? And then you get Time Micro that charges you the same money without the license.
Exactly.
Now, in about 10 years, if you're a person who's, getting into the hobby and thinking of cashing out in 10 years from now, right, for the sake of selling your hobby, what's going to hold more value? Obviously, the one that has the licensed product. So a lot of people can understand that they're paying the same amount of money for something that's unlicensed. And then there's the whole ethicalness of it, right? The reason why brands have licenses is so they can make sure that the quality control on the products that are being made in their name is perfect, right? So like when we first got hold of the IXO Tarmac Works Ferraris, Tarmac Works was very, very specific to tell us that we had to mention the fact that it was coming from IXO. And having Felix, he was very, very particular about, mentioning the fact that Ferrari, though it's a sub license from IXO, Ferrari was involved very personally in the creation of those cars. So those cars actually went through Ferrari's approval before Ferrari said, okay, you can put our sticker on your box. Now that's something you won't get with Time Micro and brands like those guys who completely, try and take advantage of the situation and drop some cars. And we're saying Time Micro, but in all fairness, there's a whole bunch of them as well.
Oh, there are so many. It feels like there's a new brand like every 3 weeks, and the castings look similar. The bases look similar, and to me, it just sounds like a quick money grab. And then you've got situations where you've got really odd liveries, like on makes and models you would never see. Kind of like the Spoon Sports on a Toyota. They're just coming up with these fantasy cars, trying to get it out there, just trying to get some money out of people and just be done with it and go on to the next thing.
On the upside, the good part is it pushes brands, it pushes the more serious brands like Tarmac Works and Pop Race and Mini GT innovate further and do more interesting stuff and tie up with more interesting people. And actually kind of now, for example, Tarmac Works is tied up with Gunther Works, right?
Yeah.
The Porsche, these guys, right? Well, those guys are pretty small, so they will keep a very close eye on their licensing and who is abusing it and who is using it and so on and so forth. And as a result, we as collectors get some fantastic models because there was a time when I had a Singer Porsche from Pop Race, Gunther Works Porsche from Tarmac Works, and a rough CTR Porsche from Mini GT. So that's all your 3 Porsche tuners, your hybrid Porsche tuners in 1/64 scale, licensed and built absolutely beautiful. So in that sense, we kind of like get another side of beautiful cars that you don't really see because these guys can't get the licensing and the artworks for it.
I mean, I kind of feel like maybe some of these bigger brands that don't do the unlicensing, like Time Micro, I feel like Time Micro is a capable brand that could get the license, and just do it right. But I don't know why they don't, right? Like that's a questionable area. Like I don't understand. Just get the license, get it done, be legit, like Tarmac, Ignition, and all these other guys, right? Like
I mean, it's obvious that there are buyers. I mean, so give them
exactly
as that. And I think everyone is doing their own thing in their own way. So even if it's the same model car, you still get differences. You still get, I feel each brand has their own character that they put into the cars. It's kind of weird, but you can tell Tarmac Works, you can tell a Mini GT, you can tell a Pop Race by looking at it because they have certain things that they do with their cars. Like Jada, for example. You look at Jada, any 124 scale Jada, and they've got that stance on their cars that is absolutely perfect for low riders. And and it's known. Jada is known for their stancing their cars really low. So, it's like a signature sort of thing. So Time Micro can easily build on that and have their own signature as well. There's absolutely no problem. And I don't think they're going to lose business. I think they'll probably drum up more business and get more support, from from people like us, for example.
I think okay. So segueing off to a lot of people being able to get these diecast cars. It's moving out there. It's getting out there. A lot of people's hands. Some of the things that some people talk about are QC issues. Now, the way that I've explained QC issues to some people, or tried to explain at least, is that hey, it's going to happen to somebody. Somebody's going to get their car pulled, unfortunately, and you're going to have that problem. The other side of it is, how do you handle it after that? So what are your thoughts on QC issues and how that affects the collector's market? Because you're paying a premium price for this stuff. You want to have a good product.
It's a tough one because I personally understand how people feel about having to spend money on something. But again, when you're working with brands like Tarmac Works and MINIGT, they really push the envelope when it comes to trying to get good QC out. And when they fail, they do make an effort to fix the problem. I mean, Tarmac Works, they had a bit of a problem for the last the first 3 years of their when they were created. Their first 3 years was very shaky because of the fact that they had so many QC issues. But they put together a team. They spoke to their factories. They got their factory put together a team, and by and large, they improved quite massively over the last few years. And at the end of the day, I can't take people who look at their cars under a microscope every day and say, "Oh, look at this, look at that," because at the end of the day, do you really look at your car like that every time you look at it? No, you put it on your shelf, and then that's where it sits for the rest of its life. You probably take it out for a couple of pictures, but that's about it. Can't crib about everything, because at the end of the day, like you very well said, someone's going to end up pulling a bad one. All you need to do is get online with your supplier, your dealer, and try and sort it out.
Communicate so that the brands know that what's going on, and even they can take action. Maybe in the future when they release products, maybe they need to add a little bit more adhesive to the tail light or spoiler, whatever it might be. The spoilers keep falling off.
And the thing is this: why do you get on social media and immediately start bashing the brands? Because you know that it's going to affect their sales. Now, when it affects their sales, you're not going to have money to put back into fixing these problems, coming out with new models with better QC and all. They need that financial support as well. It's a two-way street. So don't go bashing them to the point where 100 other people don't want to buy Tarmac Works, because those people may not have the same experience you did. They may get a perfectly fine car, but you can always fix your problem by talking. And Felix of Tarmac Works and Glenn of MINIGT are very open. They're not the sort of guys who look down at their collectors and go, "Oh, you bought that car, that's your problem. Maybe you should sell it as an error." I said that people buy error cars from Hot Wheels. So if you're going to go around paying double or triple for a Hot Wheels that doesn't have a wheel, missing some windows, sometimes they're missing all its wheels, come on, right?
You
pay premium
to me, that's an artificially created thing, and I've always felt that way. To me, it's a defect. Like, I want something that's got all the wheels on there. I want to make sure that the car is right side up. Like, to me, especially in this collector, the higher end stuff, if I were to get something like that, I would probably return it, right? Like, I wouldn't see it as an error. I would be like, "Hey, this thing is broken. Like, can you help me with the replacement?" One that looks correct.
And again, you get brands like TLV and that fat shame people by not putting their side mirrors and leaving it for us to put it on. It's not fun for a guy with chubby fingers like me to try to put on those tiny things on. So this is what they're doing to us. Whereas the new higher end brands that we work with and we enjoy,
there must be some reason Tommy Tech does not put the mirrors on, because they're afraid that it might break off.
Well, a lot of the other newer brands that do high detail cars seem to have solved that problem by adding rubber mirrors on it. And it's worked. We're all fine with it. No one has said, "Oh no, I don't like this model because it's got rubber mirrors." We are quite quite happy to get rubber mirrors. So it's not that it hasn't been thought about and fixed. I think TLVN is so set in their ways that and they have such a great following automatically because they've been around for a long time. So I don't think in their minds they think it's worth the added cost of adding these mirrors on, because I'm sure it is an added cost of getting someone to physically put them on and then put them in the box. The fact of the matter is, competition is knocking at the door. And I'll be very honest with you, in the last 3 years, Hot Wheels has realized this. And you see that they're really upping their game, not only in terms of, the output, but also the sort of models they're putting out. If you've noticed, they are creating a lot of JDM-based cars. They're going for a lot of one of the next RLCs will be a Nissan R34, which is something that you really did not see from Hot Wheels. A lot of the times, the RLCs were based on American-made brands. Once in a while, an Italian or a German brand. But as far as JDM goes, they're starting to feel the heat. And I think perfect example is the new Hot Wheels E-Lite Chaser that's coming out.
They definitely have their mindset on trying to get to that point. I think there's still some work to do to get to the point of some of the Tarmac and brands like this, but they're definitely headed in that direction.
So if they're feeling the heat, then brands like TLVN will also start to feel the heat. And I'll be honest with you, I think Ignition Models is starting to feel it, because they have now moved into collaborating with Hobby Japan, and they're now created a new brand of rally cars. So I think they're also trying to get into more of the mass market mainstream selling, as opposed to being the up there brand that they used to be.
You do bring up a point though. Okay, so Hot Wheels coming out with all this cool stuff. You were also talking about error cars, so a lot of that stuff also ties into scalpers, right? Scalping and things like that. And you said that all this kind of started with you and Lance because of scalping. What is your stance on scalping, and how do you think that affects the market?
I personally dislike scalpers, and I have been quite vocal about it. I mean, to each his own, really. I mean, I'm not going to go around like the principal saying, hey, you can't do that. But again, it's down to ethical behavior, right? I mean, there is plenty enough for everyone. There is no reason why, and I've seen some really insane things when it comes to Hot Wheels. I'd be open with it, because we've actually taken the initiative to contact Hot Wheels and Mattel and tell them, guys, this is what's happening in some of your factories and all that. I have actually seen cars that had been announced on the Hot Wheels website and at their conventions, and then 1-2 weeks later, they are being sold in plastic doggy bag, unspun, by the dozen in Sri Lanka. So I'm thinking, what? And people are paying premium. I'm telling you, they're paying 5-6 times
they're paying more money for that.
For
it's not even original packaging. It's crazy. Oh,
exactly.
God.
It's not even finished. It's not even printed. It's still, falling apart. So again, this is why I kind of get this hypocrisy sometimes in certain segments. Kind of really weird, because the same guys will be the guys who kind of like bad talk brands like MINIGT and Tarmac Works when they've got a side mirror that's slightly off or a spoiler that's slightly misaligned. Yeah, so it's the same thing. As for scalpers, I mean, come on, guys, really. It's really the frustration that people feel when they get to a Hot Wheels stand in the hopes of getting something new. And forget about things like treasure hunts, okay? I mean, we all know that is a lost cause. Trying to get yourself a treasure hunt in the wild is about as easy as asking feathers from a tortoise. But even the mainliners, I mean, there's absolutely no reason why you should force people. I mean, you're literally forcing people to pay extra just because you want to make a bit of money off it. I mean,
I think this is maybe a reason why some of the Hot Wheels collectors are maybe transitioning to the collector grade stuff, the higher end stuff, because maybe they see more value for the quality. They don't have to fight these lines. A lot of the higher end stuff, I think also, you don't see too much scalping. You'll see every now and then someone's doubling the price just to see if they could create that artificial hype again. But for the most part, especially like me as a reseller, I try to stay as close as possible to MSRP and just try to, get these into the hands of people that could really enjoy it. Because I think that's the most important part, right? It's to be able to just enjoy these cars, to get one and just enjoy it instead of having to pay double, triple, fight line, go online. It's just...
A lot of the times I try to tell people to look at it from a human point. Forget about everything else, right? Look at it from a human point of view. You are a collector who, is about to go out and spend the day looking for your favorite Hot Wheels. You've seen it online. You've seen people talking about it. You're really excited. You're pumped up. You're thinking, yes, today is going to be the day I'm going to get that Mazda RX-7. Really like that RX-7. Really like that Mustang. Oh my God, they've got an Aston Martin Valkyrie as well. Really would like to get my hands on that. So you go out and you go to the first shop, and the first shop goes, oh, you kind of missed it. This guy came, he took the box, he emptied the box and everything. And then you feel, depressed about it. Then you go to the next shop, and it keeps happening, right? Basically, scalpers are giving people depression, anxiety, and mental illness. I'm serious. I mean, Uh, as collectors, we want that same dopamine from getting that feeling of enjoying opening up, cracking open on that car. And it's just mind-boggling. And not only that, you've kind of given them anxiety and depression. Now you're going to charge them extra for that same car that you paid so much for. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it can be. I've
It's
seen it on
really
the forum. I've seen it in the Facebook group. People that call out scalpers and things like that. And unfortunately, for the majority, I think the mindset of scalping and let people make their money. There's a lot of that goes on, which that's fine. I mean, yeah, I get that. But at the end of the day, I think it's kind of a disservice to the people that are really passionate about collecting. They just want to collect. They don't care about resale value. They don't care about selling it for 3 times what it costs. They just want to be able to collect it, put it in their collection, and enjoy it. It's those people that I feel bad for, right?
Exactly.
No, it's just like you were saying. The internet has opened up the window for a lot of things like that. So kind of like bad mouthing brands, things like that. There's a bad side to the internet, but there's obviously a good side, right? Because you're able to promote your magazine, your YouTube channel, and things like this too. So
yeah. I mean, it's you can't have the good without the bad, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean that's why brand Castheads magazine, we try and keep it fair for all by keeping it free. We try and educate everybody about what's out there in terms of you can't get yourself this model, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there that you can certainly enjoy. And at the end of the day, that's I think why we are kind of special, because not only are we able to do that, but we also are around for a long time, in the sense that we are not a post that turns up on Instagram and stays there for 15 minutes and then gets dropped down by a whole other another post. You can look at our magazines that go back all the way back to 3 years, and some of those cars are still on the shelves. Some of those cars are still in stores. So as a collector, if you want to go, I can't get the latest thing because everybody's hyping and going crazy over it. Maybe I'll just go back and see what else is available, and then you suddenly realize, oh, you got these cars on discount. Like a lot of the cars that we reviewed for Tarmac Works, for example, in the first 2 years of our existence, a lot of those cars are now available. A few of them are available on their web store for sale. So it's nice to be able to pick up those cars, and then you can do it in peace and quiet without having to pay, the exorbitant prices that you get on online selling sites and so on and so forth, and help build up your collection. So that's what we like to consider ourselves, as a brand. We're not only about the new stuff, but we're also about the stuff that's been going on for a long time. And there's a lot of other crazy stuff out there that you really don't have to be tied to one brand and go through suffering.
One thing that I noticed with your magazine is super impressive. Definitely a eye candy for the collector too, especially to have. I saw this on the first page of the magazine. What is this app?
Basically, we got an insight from trawling groups and pages and talking to people about how they keep their collections. And some of these people have massive collections. Like, for example, David Houston has over 5,000 models spread across 3 continents. What do you do, right? I mean, how do you keep track of all those cars? And it was also a case of a lot of people would use stuff like Excel to keep track of their models. But then the problem is, you're in a shop. How do you access your Excel file? And it's going to take time. So what we thought was, we love collecting. We would like a solution to how we could catalog our models. And so we got together and we built this app called Bumper, which is basically purely for cataloging your diecast collection. So it's got all the scales that you need, all the brands that you need, all the sub brands. So for example, again, Tarmac Works is one of my personal favorites. So made sure that they've got their Global 64 line, Hobby 64, Road 64, all those subdivisions, and everything is there. All you need to do is just set your shot up, and again, you can take a bog standard white background, click and put it up, or you can dress it up and give it a nice diorama or an artistic effect. You can take pictures from your cloud. So if you've already got pictures taken, you can put it in. Just take a picture and add in the details, and boom, you've got your cars at your fingertips wherever you go in the world. So if you're in a shop somewhere in Malaysia, for example, and you're thinking, do I have this transporter set? And you don't want to buy like multiples of it. You just go into your app, do a search for it, and boom, it's there. So you know exactly where it is in your collection, And we've got a note section as well, so you'll be able to put down exactly where you put it in it. So is it in box 3? Is it in box 4? In box 5, you've got all these cars. You can search according to that sort of title as well. And therefore, you're able to label your stuff, and you know exactly where all your cars are. And we made it cheap as possible. It's a one-time payment of $4.99, and that money goes into in developing the app further and creating updates. So the app runs after that for free. We give you free updates, and we also are looking at getting in deals and special discounts and stuff like that from brands, so that people who have the app will get more advantage of using it when they're in their collecting. So not only will be able to catalog it, but they'll also be able to get cool stuff being exclusive. So it works for everyone. In fact, it works for scalpers and for collectors both. They've already bought it, kept. So it really works. And right now we are working on an update where you're going to be able to import your Excel document. So if you've been collecting for the last 10 years and you've got it all on Excel, you'll be able to import that into the app, and you'll be able to reverse that by exporting it out of the app as well if you want to print it out and give it to, for example, your insurance agent. Now, that's something a lot of people don't realize about their collections. You spend a lot of money buying the collection. The collection is probably worth quite a bit of money. What happens when you have a natural disaster? And this is something that we saw actually with the States, because a few months ago, there was some massive hurricane action and typhoon action in Florida. And a lot of collectors in Florida lost their entire collection. If you had the app, for example, and you were able to give your insurance guy, the valuation, because you can put the valuation as well in your app. So if you've forgotten how much you paid for it 5 years ago, it's there in the app. So you'll be able to evaluate how much it's grown in value and all of that, and keep it insured, which is a great thing for collectors who don't really realize that they could lose their collection in one go.
These are like super exciting times to be a collector. And nowadays, being able to combine all this technology into it just makes it even more fun, man. Because you've got an app here that can keep track of your record. You've got the internet that can allow you to voice your opinion on certain issues that you can bring up that can then be voiced to people across to the manufacturers, and they listen to you. You've got all these platforms now where you can share this stuff. So with all that going on, not like that's not enough. You mentioned that you went to some of the Diecast expos that are over there overseas. You have fortunately, you have the advantage of going over there, and us over here, we don't have anything like that. My intent is to maybe try to create something like that in the future, but tell us a little bit more about your experience at the expo, because that's essentially how you very first started getting into the higher end stuff, right?
Exactly. So that's what's great about these expos, and Castheads magazine has been able to be a part of actually for this year alone, we were part of the Hong Kong Toy Car Fair. Which is rather huge, because that is kind of the epicenter of where a lot of these new brands are coming from. Hong Kong, a lot of them are based in Hong Kong. That is a great place where you get to see a lot of new brands, feature a lot of new stuff that's coming out. Tarmac works, MINIGT, they're always showing new stuff. And you get to see the molds of some of the cars that are coming. So it's that advanced that you get. That's how advanced some of these displays are. Then we were part of the Malaysia Diecast Expo, which we were able to attend. We were part of the Indonesia Diecast Expo, which is one of the biggest in Asia. And the last one for the year was the Singapore Diecast Expo. And what's really fantastic about this is the energy is just absolutely electric, because you're moving around with a lot of people who are on the same mindset as you. So you end up in, fantastic discussions, fantastic debate. You make new friends, and a lot of the dealers and distributors in these countries are really, really nice guys who are far more passionate about collecting and the hobby than about making money. So that's also quite really nice to find. Now, one of the cool things about going to these expos is the fact that you also have these special edition cars that these brands make.
Got some exclusive stuff to show us, some Easter eggs.
Yeah. So here, this is the Diecast, the Singapore Diecast Expo, and as you can see, it's been signed by Brendan Vituski, who is one of the RLC designers and monster truck designers for Mattel. And as you can see, this is proper legit, right? I mean, how gorgeous is that?
Yeah.
And not only 5 of these ever made. So these are the sort of things that you're able to get at these expos, because a lot of these brands take this quite seriously. Another one, so yeah, so this is the Tarmac Works again, special edition. So this is the Tarmac Works, the Liberty Walks and RWB. So yeah, a lot of these brands, they get ramped up for these shows, and they've got special edition cars, in addition to the fact that they're able to show off some of the new cars that are coming up in future. Now, the Singapore Diecast Expo was actually filled with a lot of people who are Hot Wheels fans, because they come with that to Brendan Watuski. It was not just a place where you see stuff, but it's a place where you can get engaged, because they had a customizer competition, right? And some of these customizers that customize these cars are just absolutely insane, James. I mean, it's just nuts how people customize cars. And the stuff that
I've seen some of the Jakarta diecast guy. Dude, his stuff is insane. Like, it's next level. I mean, it's not even a house.
Indonesia, exactly. Indonesia is full of fantastic diecast customizers. In fact, we were chatting with this young lady who's also one of the judges for the Shuttercaster Awards, young lady by the name of Mizu. Fantastic work. You can check her out on Instagram and on Facebook. There are, you have the customizers, then you have the special cars, then you have vendors who've got cool accessories, like Dream Customs was at the Singapore Diecast Expo, and they had actually created one of the iconic Singapore parking lot as one of their mats, and I love their mats because they're quite useful and quite practical. From the standpoint of being a mat, a mousepad mat, but also it's really fun to have these things on your desk. And you know, now for example, I've always got cars. Like if you tell me, give me a 164, I've got a 164 right here on my table. If you want 124, I've got a 124 as well. So I'll be sitting here, you know, with all of these cars sitting around, and then, you know, once in a while I'll be like playing with these cars. So that's always great fun to see these accessories, and you know, it's just insane. In fact, I had a nice 7-Eleven diorama that we picked up from Singapore as well, which I showed you earlier. But unfortunately, I kind of put it way out of getting it. However, one of the things that I did pick up from Singapore Diecast Expo is the launch of 2 new products from Pop Race. And I do have them right here. And this is again why Diecast Expos are so exciting in this part of the world, because you get to see these cars up close and personal. Now, these are prototypes. So no one has seen these before. Okay. No one has had a chance to touch it.
In here, yeah.
This is from Pop Race, right? And like I said, Pop Race is emerging as a really great brand that's doing some fantastic stuff. Let me get a flat base here, right? And let me put that on. This is the Toyota Yaris. Just look at that.
Oh yes, the Pandam
Yaris, right? So you can see the sort of detail that goes into it.
The wheels look very detailed.
Yep, these are metal wheels.
Does it roll? Does it roll too?
It rolls absolutely perfectly. The rear spoiler has those beautiful struts. And what's really cool about it is Pop Race has actually achieved, getting the perfect ride height by what they've done is they've got the base or the chassis of the car set deeper than the body of the car. So when the car sits on a flat surface, it actually looks like it's almost touching the road. So let me see if I can get it right up a bit here.
Yeah, I think
there you go.
Lowered stance definitely gives it a more aggressive look.
You know, these are the sort of beautiful things that you get to kind of play with. And if you check out our Instagram and our Facebook page, even the Tarmac Works, all the cars that are coming out for the next few months, we were able to get beautiful close-up views and take some beautiful pictures. This is the other one that's coming out from Pop Race, the Advan.
You gotta have the Advan livery. Gotta have that one.
But just check out the detail on this. Now, see, look at the deepness of the deep wheels, and again, metal wheels, metal struts in the back, and you know, of course, my camera isn't good enough to highlight the details, but the badging is all there. This has carbon fiber, fiber section right over there, and again, if you look, side mirrors, and I am them. Rubber. So you know, it's impressive. And these, like I said, are brand spanking new. These will be coming out next year. In fact, I am currently in the process of shooting these babies for the magazine that's coming out next after the gift guide, which we're launching very soon. So again, so you've got the excitement, you've got the energy, you've got all of these accessories, you've got the dealers, you've got it's just such a wild sort of feeling. And Singapore this time, they also had a classic car show. I haven't been able to edit the pictures, but outside the event they had, you know, Datsun, Nissan Datsun Z. There was a Lamborghini. I've forgotten the name. It's so rare, one of those Lamborghinis.
You mean they had like a car show outside, or they was just these were just random cars?
No, they had a classic car show outside as well. And you know what's great about Singapore is it's a country that has lots of Ferraris and Lamborghinis. So, you know, the classic car show was out, and then the Ferrari boys came in with their cars, and the Lamborghini guys came in with their Moemo mustaches on the cars. And you know, it was like a car show and diecast show mixed together.
This is heaven for them then. Okay, so promise me that if I create the show here, that you will come by, do some coverage.
No, definitely.
Make it just as exciting.
We would love to come over there, and we're quite excited about the idea of you starting your own thing. And again, you know, whatever assistance we can give at any level, we would always support you guys, because this is where the community needs to go, and this is our thing. You know, this is how we do it. We don't have the money to buy expensive cars and have massive garages and all, but we do have money to buy model cars. And it's nice to have that space where we can own for ourselves, which is why, again, the magazine was such a great thing to do for collectors, because it gave them that piece of publication in the space where everybody's got their car books and their computer books and their tech books and all these magazines. We came in for the diecasters, and we made it as free as possible. So, you know, it was great fun. Another car that I did pick up from Pop Race, and this is one of my, I just absolutely love this, right? It's gorgeous.
This is the big Easter egg. The big Easter egg. That's 18 scale.
Not seen by anyone. I've just finished the shoot for it. This is a stunning, and I like the fact that they've also included a gorgeous leather base. Just check that out.
Oh man, the Singer
Porsche. And this is actually, so there are one thing I learned about doing the research with all of this is that there are two types of Singer Porsches. There is the DLS version as well, which has the dynamic lightning system, which is apparently much lighter than the normal Singer. And this particular one was commissioned by the Williams Racing Engineering team in England for the Goodwood Festival of Speed.
Yes, I know there's another brand like called Makeup Co. that specializes in Singer Porsches as well. But I think the advantage with Pop Race coming into the game doing this is it makes it a little bit more affordable to maybe the average collector.
That's the thing. So Pop Race's idea is, that is their basic mantra. When we had a chat with the owner, his idea was to be able to make high-end cars with fantastic details at an affordable price. That collectors can buy, which is great news for us and great news for collectors. Because, like I said, I mean, if you look at the detail on this, for example, I mean, I just go crazy when I see these struts at the back. I mean,
that's the reason why we like this hobby, right? It's because of those little details.
And I'll tell you a little secret, right? So the Singapore Diecast Expo, Brendan Watuski from Hot Wheels Mattel was there. He was going around picking up a lot of these cars for him to take to the fields, right? And he's looking at them and he's going, "Oh, these guys have done this, these guys have done that." So you can see the thinking behind them as well, you know.
The wheels are spinning.
The wheels are spinning. So I think, maybe next year we're going to see some really, really interesting Hot Wheels coming up, especially from the RLC series. So I'm having a lot of hope for that. Right now, they've got the opening parts, but they're, again, one step away from having detailed engines, like Tarmac Works. If you take Tarmac Works Lancia 037, wow, what a fantastic piece of modeling. I mean, they've got opening parts, and they've got an engine that looks superbly detailed at eye-line view. And I'm not saying, you've got one of those jeweler magnifying glasses and you're looking at it, but as a display piece.
Not yet. Maybe later on we'll get to the point where 64 scale can be super detailed.
I mean, it's definitely on the right track. So yeah, I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing, and it's very interesting to see what how Mattel and how Hot Wheels is going to respond. Although I must say, I don't think high-end cars is ever going to challenge their mass market mainliners. I think they are more interested in hitting at the high-end collectors, the people who would spend the extra money on an RLC model and something more highly detailed.
I think that's the same for companies like Makeup. Even though they sell their Singer Porsches for, a lot of money, I think it's more for a specific type of collector. Maybe they want something that's a lot more limited. The bases look nice and things like that. So there's always a market. I think having a market for every avenue is definitely a good idea because it just brings in more collectors. It brings more excitement and joy to the hobby of collecting diecast cars.
Exactly. And again, brands like Pop Race are trying to be the in between middle guys who bridge that gap between budget collectors and high end models. But having said that, right, especially in the 118 scale, brands like Burago and Maesto have been around for a long time, right? And some of the cars that I have bought from them, which are something like 10, 15 years old, still have fantastic paint. Some of the more expensive brands would have zinc pest or paint rash, or over time. Whereas Burago and Maesto have always, it stands the test of time, and they have improved a lot on their quality of workmanship, and they're now doing fantastic interiors as well. They've got a signature line that's looking fantastic, and even brands like Solido now are really rocking it. They've come up with their 118 scale line. They've got their rally line. They've got their Le Mans line. They've got their Street Fighter line. And all of these are fantastic models that look really gorgeous. I can tell you, James, that next year is going to be full of some crazy 118 scale cars at budget prices, right? So all the guys are, oh, I'm only BBR and I'm only CNC and all that. I'm going to be missing out on a lot of interesting stuff because, again, brands like Solido, they have the ability to do some really cool cars because they're mass produced. And again, with them, upping the game in their detail on the interiors and all that, they are serious contenders. And, I don't mind. I have absolutely no problem filling my shelves up with Solido and Maesto and Burago because they really do look good the part and they really last long.
For the money, for the money, you're getting a pretty high quality product. I think that's just how far diecast and all this stuff has come, right? Because it's 2023 almost now, and we're at the point where they're putting out some really high quality stuff, even at the lower level.
And also another thing is, for a long time, people did not have access to what's going on in the world. I think in the last 5-6 years, the internet has brought the entire thing closer, and now a lot of brands are not seeing this as a niche market. It's more like a global niche market. So with the internet, we've gone from a few hundred people to millions of people who now basically see what they want, and a lot of them will do anything to get it. So a lot of brands are now cashing into this demand and coming up with some fantastic stuff and upping their game, and their sales are going up, which means they're able to put more money into research, development, and of course
quality,
licenses. Great licenses, like for example, Singer. I mean, this is my first 118 Singer Porsche, and I swear to God, I am in love with this. I cannot tell you how much.
When I get mine, I'll be sure to do a comparison video between that and a Makeup, just to see what the differences are.
Yeah, that would be. I definitely be watching off that one. I do love your comparison videos.
Oh, thank you. As we land the plane, this is just a random question that I would ask at the end. For brand new collectors that are just coming up, because I think this is still a young, up and coming hobby, what advice would you give them for people that are starting out? Like, where do they start? What should they do when they're trying to get into it?
I would say research. The internet is a fantastic place to research stuff. There are hundreds and hundreds of groups on Facebook. And I can tell you, you can find a Facebook group in your country for sure. We have been talking to people from Mongolia, people from South Africa, people from Pakistan. I mean, it truly is a global hobby. And what's great is every country will have a group of people, and that will be your starting point because they will be able to direct you as to where to go and where to get stuff from. Do your research and pick your models, right? I mean, if you want to go the way of Tarmac Works, MINIGT, and Pop Race, then you may, if you're starting off, right? You obviously have a budget. Pick the cars that you like, and start off small. it is a roller coaster ride. And what happens is you start off small, but you will find yourself falling down the rabbit hole, going absolutely crazy. I mean,
Hey, this is where the app comes in handy, right, Nigel?
this is where the app. This box contains my haul from Singapore, and we're going to be doing a separate video series called The Haul on Castheads video as well, where we're going to show people the sort of stuff that we get, because there are some fantastic, models out there. And
Sure.
that is where, and read Castheads magazine, because we try and cover as much as possible to give you an idea of what sort of models there are out there, straight up from 164, or not even 164, but we go from 187 all the way up to 112 scale cars. So whatever is happening, old or new, there's a lot of information out there. And also ask people, don't be afraid to ask questions, because this is a situation where there is a lot of moving parts. You don't want to get ripped off, and there are people who get ripped off, who will spend like hundreds of dollars on something that they really didn't need to spend that money on. They could find it somewhere else. With shipping, it will cost much less. So do your research. That's what I would tell anyone. With people like Model Car Houston and the sort of information and content that you do, the sort of information and content that we put out, and then there are people like David Houston who are constantly on various chat forums and stuff like that. Talk to these guys, and a lot of us will be able to put new model collectors into whatever scene they're looking for. Sometimes it may be just rally cars. We can direct you to where you should go. If you want, the old Japanese cars, someone like David Houston, for example, has a plethora of information about what to get. So the internet is full. The internet is a wonderful place. It's a scary place, and quite an opinionated place. Fortunately, there are a lot of people who are out there who want to help new collectors, and it's just a matter of asking for help and talking. That's what I would tell any new guy getting into the scene. But be prepared. Be very prepared, because it is a very serious thing. In the sense that once you get hooked, it is quite addictive. So you really have to learn how to pace yourself. But again, it's such a satisfying and rewarding hobby, especially if you're a car lover and you're into car culture.
So I'll be sure to put anything relevant that we talked about down in the show notes. But I guess as the final thing, where can everybody find you, Nigel? Like, where can they find Castheads and all this stuff? What do they have? Social media?
I mean, can't get through any part of the world without a full social media platform derivative. So yeah, we are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram. www.castheadsmagazine.com. That is where our website is. You have all our issues that start from the very first to the very last issue, and we also have our own video content and blogs as well, written by people from all over the world. We've got bloggers from the United States, we've got bloggers from India, bloggers from South Africa, and we'll soon be updating our website to include Shuttercasters as well, which is our ode to some of the fantastic photography. And I have to say, the photography that we are seeing, James, in the Shuttercasters page is absolutely phenomenal. It makes you think that, wow, this is a completely different world that these guys are doing, creating. And that alone, taking photography, that is another rabbit hole that you will fall down in once you get into, because that's dioramas, figures, lighting, cameras. It's serious stuff.
Nigel, this is getting so much fun. Look, man, I definitely don't want this to be a one-time thing. I want to be able to talk to you again sometime next year, maybe after some of the events happen and things like this. And maybe we could also bring on Lance to the podcast next time too.
That would be fantastic, because he also would love to share a lot of his insight into, what's happening. And he's got some great ideas as well. So yeah, we definitely, we would definitely be on this show again, for sure.
Yeah.
Talking about stuff, and yeah, definitely have some new stuff to talk about as well, because we are planning quite a crazy 2023-2024. So it's very exciting for us, for brands that are working with us, and also the collectors. And also, of course, fans for Castheads. I mean, it's just, I don't know, being in this hobby just makes me smile.
Dude, it's a fun time, man. But thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time, bud.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I have had such an awesome time talking to you about stuff, and definitely we will be on the show with more awesome stuff like these. Singapore, I tell you.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, buddy. You take it easy, stay safe, and to all the collectors out there, have fun.